Good morning, everyone. Today is Thursday. It is the 22nd of April, 2021. This is a conversation with Dr. Dan Mathews, and it's going to be recording reference number 300 if you wish to dial back in and listen to this recording. And the number to hear the recording is area code 515-604-9697. It's area code 515-604-9697. You'll have to put in the PIN number 449-289#, and then you'll have to put the reference number for this call, which will be reference number 300. Okay, so I'm going to turn this call over to Dr. Dan for this morning, and if you wish to ask him a question, you may text me at 713-622-8900, 713-622-8900. It's all yours, Dr. Dan.
Okay. Well, thank you, Linda, and thank you, everyone, for being on the phone today. I'm very honored to speak in your presence, and I don't really have a lot to talk about on the front end today, so your questions are going to be what gets us through the hour or ever how far we get. Linda just brought up a source for buying the fermented yeast culture in a 50-pound bag, and the reason that's such a big bag is that this is the agricultural supply unit of the cultured yeast that I tout everyone to take it. It's actually a nutriment. It's a specific strand of baker's yeast that they grow and then ferment, and they discovered this back in the 80s as initially a way of stopping mad cow disease, if you remember that, and that was a breakdown of the gut-brain barrier that allowed viruses to get into the brains of cows, and so they started making it back in the 80s, and it stopped mad cow's disease in its track really quick, very impressively, and then they started extending it on out to other forms of livestock, and it's a product for natural herd immunity. Well, after making it for 15 years, they discovered that by noticing that people that worked in the production facility were not using their sick days, that some of them for up to 8 years, that this stuff also works on humans, and it works on any warm-blooded animal actually, and so they started. They researched it for humans, and it's all evidence-based. It's been inspected and scientifically evaluated, and it's very effective. And the good thing about it is that it's a nutriment. It's not a medicine. It chemically analyzed is high-quality protein with minerals in it, and so I take it as a food. You only have to take a half a teaspoon a day. I just put it in my daily smoothie, and it's almost tasteless. Back when I used to travel a lot and didn't get to do smoothies, I would just take a half a teaspoon and toss it in my mouth and wash it down with water. And it's, I've had a lot worse things than that I had to swallow, and so it wasn't a problem to me at all. I've heard tell of people that try to stir it in a glass of water, and it's like drinking a glass of sawdust water. It's pretty nasty if you try to do it like that. But if you're not going to put it in a smoothie or oatmeal or applesauce, it blends into any food like that. You won't even know it's in there. If you can't do it like that, I just recommend you just put it on your tongue and wash it down. It's not unpleasant unless you got what I would call weenie taste buds, and you just have a very limited palate, and I don't know what to tell you if that's the case. But I do know this stuff is very effective at keeping you well. I've taken it for 15 years, and I was traveling all over the country on planes and stuff doing Holy Divine Healing. And I can't tell you when the last time I've had a cold or flu or any kind of problem like that. You just don't catch it. And what this stuff does, this fermented yeast culture combines with a cell type in the mucosal lining of your respiratory and digestive system and secretes an enzyme that's an impenetrable immune barrier. It kind of does the same thing that wearing a mask does. It protects your portal of entry into your mucous membranes. Well, this doesn't protect the portal of entry. This actually protects the mucous membranes, and you just don't get sick. And I highly recommend it. And not only is it good for colds, flus, any kind of virus, but any kind of variants of any virus, and for anything else that's coming down the track here, what's next, And so it's just a perfect way to enhance your innate immune system. It's not acquired immunity like taking a shot. It's part of the innate immune system. And that's the part of your immune system that keeps you alive every day, through your thymus gland that makes your T cells, or your adenoids and tonsils that work on keeping things out of your digestive system. And it's just a wonderful product to take. And you don't have to buy a 50-pound bag of it unless you want to distribute it to family members and stuff, because it takes a long time. I've done it many times and just give it away by the gallon Ziploc to my clients and whatnot. And it's very stable. It's made to be in the barn. It's an agricultural product. Well, there's a company out of Utah called sunstoneformulas.com that sells a 10-ounce can for $11 and some change. The 50-pound bag is around $40.
Hey, I'm sorry I snapped at you, okay?
What's that? And did somebody say something? I didn't understand what you said.
Now I'm going to see if I can mute everyone else. Okay, they're muted now. Okay.
Okay. But I think it's a wonderful nutriment that gives you a natural herd immunity effect. And I find it to be very effective, and it's because I do that, and I eat a plant-based diet, and I take supplements to keep my immune system charged, that my personal decision is not to take the vaccine. And it's not got anything to do with politics. It's just not my way. I do things naturally, and so I've got nothing bad to say about anybody that wants to take the shot. It's your choice. If you feel threatened and you're afraid and you're not willing to make the changes necessary in your diet to be a healthy person. I mean, we have to face it as a country. We've gotten a big fat F on our health care report card over this pandemic. And Americans are really unhealthy. We're by far the number one country in the world that takes, I think we take 80% of the world's pharmacological products and other, we eat a very rich diet that's really bad for us, and people are way overweight in general terms. Not everybody, but a lot of people are. And you look at the people that are dying from this pandemic, and by and large, it's people with pre-existing health conditions and people that are overweight or obese, and poor health, and so it's just kind of the state of the health of America, and that needs to be tremendously improved. And you have to make that your own personal responsibility. Government is never going to do it because they're always paid off by special interests that has to get the processed food industry and stuff included into any kind of nutritional recommendations they're going to make. And, I wouldn't eat that a day. I can't tell you the last time I had a soft drink, and yet that's on the list now of things you can have once a day is a soft drink. Well, that is not good for anybody. And so they're pretty much tied up by special interests. So if you want to be healthy in America, it's got to be your own personal responsibility. Government agencies is never going to be able to do that. And, there's lots of food products that America makes and Americans eat that are against the law to sell in European countries, for example. They don't allow Monsanto GMOs And, all these kind of experimental foods that America is eating, they don't allow that stuff over there, because they're interested in keeping their population healthy, where America is interested in treating people's disease and disorders. We have a crisis management style of healthcare. It's about treating disease and disorder. It is not about keeping healthy people healthy. That would be a conflict of interest with the crisis management industry, and they are king in this country. And it's kind of created this environment where if you need a heart bypass, America is the best place to be. But if you want to learn how to live where you never need one, it's way down the list. I think we're in the 36 or something the last time I saw a chart by the World Health Organization of the quality of health in America. We're way down the list of what other countries are. And we rely on this crisis management stuff. And we've gotten our report card in from this pandemic, and we're like 6% of the world population, and we lead the world in deaths from this virus, and it's because of the poor starting health of people, and that's going on. But I think, Linda, you said you had some information on where to get this Diamond V if you want a 50-pound bag of it.
I do. All right. The name of the company is Armor, ARMOR, Animal Health. They're located in Milwaukee. The phone number is area code 800-255-1181. That's 800-255-1181. And the representative I worked with was the woman named Christy F. So she knows that. She asked me how many head of cattle I had, and I have 2. That would be Joseph and Linda. Those are my 2 head of cattle. So anyhow, I don't know if you need that kind of information. But anyhow, what you're ordering, it would be item number 12846, Diamond V XPC, 50 pounds. And the price was $121.38 for 50 pounds of it. So it sounds like the price has gone up since you bought it, Dr. Dan, or you have another resource that sells it at a different price. And then you have freight on top of that and sales tax. So it ended up costing me about $200 for 50 pounds. But that's still quite a savings, because when you buy the little, it ends up being about $15 for a 3-month supply. And this is considerably, it's like a whole 90 times that amount. So it's quite a savings. So that's the information I have on Armor Health and how to get the fermented yeast product if you like it. And 2 cups makes up like a sandwich bag full. And if you want to sell it, you can sell it for like $10 a bag and recoup your cost for the labor and out-of-pocket expense. Okay, that's all I have to say on that. All right, you ready for some questions, Dr. Dan?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, remember, send your questions in because that's going to be the primary focus for today's meeting. Question number 1, what is the most effective way to have a personal healing session with you? Should we defer to what our inner holiness decrees as a priority, or whatever's triggering us in the moment in our life, the annoying experience of the day?
Well, because I'm a one-man army, and I have a bottleneck on the phone healings because I have to have a surrogate, and all of my surrogates have full-time jobs, and so I just have to get what little time I can from each one of them. And so that's the least effective way. If you want a treatment soon, the best way is to be in my Little Rock office, which I've always been a little bit slow in Little Rock, and that's exactly the reason why I've traveled all these years. And And so definitely in Little Rock is going to be the very best way. And I'm going to be doing an experiment this summer if the virus will kind of calm down and where people can come to Arkansas. But I'm going to take groups of 5 out on my pontoon boat out on the Lake Ouachita, which is on top of the largest known quartz crystal vein in North America. It makes crystal vortexes in the water. It's the cleanest lake in America, plus it's a wilderness lake. All of it is in the national forest, and it's flooded Ouachita Mountains is what it is, and it is divine. And I tell you, I go out there all the time, in the fall and winter and spring, and just being on that water in a boat, not in the water, but out of it, floating on it, I just get totally blissed out. It's an amazing thing, and so I'm going to start sharing that with people, but I'm going to have like a 5 or 6 hour cruise out in the lake, and I have a little table on the lake. I can give treatments on the boat while the rest of our party floats in the lake. Fun noodles are recommended because they let your body be in the water, whereas an air mattress or something like that, you're laying above it. So you really want to bathe in this water, and it's profound. It's amazing experience, and so I'm going to do a little 5 hour tour to Gillum's Island. My middle name is Gillum, so I'm kind of going to go with that and see how this goes over. But we'll start after the 4th of July and go probably until school starts about the 1st of September. A couple of days a week is what I'm planning on initially, and if demand wants that to increase, then that's what I'll do. But my maiden voyage is going to be with Linda and her group, and so it'll be a lot of fun. But I just want to kind of put that out there, and when people come to Arkansas, if you want to stay in Hot Springs, which is 15 minutes from the state park where my boat is, there's lots of activity to do in Hot Springs, lots of hotels. The Waters Hotel is where Chris and Barbara stayed out last time, and they loved it. It's right across the street from the bathhouses. There's also the Arlington Hotel that's the flagship hotel of the town. They're presently in a reconstruction on parts of it at a time where people can still use it. But being around that little bathhouse row area is where you want to be at in Hot Springs. If you want a more secluded destination, Peace Valley Sanctuary, which sits on top of the primary Earthkeeper crystal of the Milky Way galaxy. It's a 70-acre retreat surrounded by national forest, and Susan Waters is the owner and the person in charge, and so you just call Peace Valley, and she's got a bed and breakfast. Let's see, what do they call that? Airbnb? Yeah, that's it. But if you tell them that you're from Holy Divine Healing, you'll get a discount. And Susan's a great reference on where to go dig crystals, where to go buy crystals. She actually has a gift shop at Peace Valley Sanctuary that sells crystals. And so it's a pretty awesome place. I've been working out there since 2003 on the Crystal Kingdom, and we've had amazing experiences. And the Peace Valley phone number is 870-356-2667. That's 870-356-2667. And but it's Arkansas is a geographic wonderland. We've got 75 counties and 52 state parks, and tourism is the second leading industry in our state. So they do a real good job of having clean restrooms and showers and all of that stuff, and everything is kept in good shape. And there's a lot of activity to do in the Hot Springs area, so everybody can find something they like, and so it's a wonderful destination place. Okay.
Yes. And I believe you told me earlier Hot Springs is about 1 hour's drive from this Peace Valley.
That's correct.
So, and that the distance from Peace Valley to where your boat is takes about 45 minutes.
That
and
is correct.
You usually want to do you have an app. You usually eat lunch before you do this boat ride, and we take boat food along, like pimento cheese and fruit, and just kind of snack on the boat. So it's not like we have to pack a picnic lunch. And question: do we bring our own noodles, or do you have noodles on the boat for us to use?
Yeah, I have noodles, but what you need to bring. You need to get a wide brim hat. I've got a big straw hat with a brim all the way around it, and like a garden type hat, if you know what that looks like. Sunglasses, and I recommend you wear a T-shirt. Your body's going to be in the water, but the top of your shoulders will be out a little bit. And with that big hat, a lot of people's shoulders are covered, and for big men that is not covered, I recommend you wear a T-shirt because I don't want to get anybody sunburned. And something about being on that crystal bed with the sun coming in there, it is intense, and it will cook you.
Yeah.
So you don't want to get sunburned. And you also need swimming shoes because it has a rocky bottom. And
okay.
And depending on the efficiency of swimming of the people on the boat, that kind of determines where we go to. If people are not good at swimming, we will dock the boat on an island, and you can swim around the shore. People that are good, when I have a boat full of people that are good swimmers, we don't ever go to the bank. We just float around out there and jump off the boat. It's got a ladder on it. And I have a 100-foot floating rope that we hang on to the boat. You don't want the boat to get away from you, for sure. But we got all that figured out. But what you do need to bring is a hat, sunglasses, wear a T-shirt on top, and your own sunscreen. But I will supply you with the fun noodle.
Okay. Yeah. There are some long sleeve shirts that prevent sun also that you can buy. They will take care of that. I was going to also add that the rate at Peace Valley is $125 a night for like a regular room for a couple of people.
Yeah, and she will give you a discount if you tell her you're from Holy Divine Healing Group.
Yeah, that you need to call for that. If you go through Airbnb, there are additional fees that are going to jack the price up. So The key is give her a call at 870-356-2667, and that's Susan Waters, and she's absolutely a delight. Okay. And let me just follow up on that question about the personal healing. So is it best just to show up and say, okay, please check with my inner holiness and see what's up for me? Or, oh, my God, Dr. Dan, I got so triggered over the weekend. This, and this happened. Is there a preference on that?
Well, it's best if you don't use me for emergency room because, like I say, I'm a one-man army with limited supply of surrogates. And right now, my phone sessions, I am backed up to the middle of June. But in my Little Rock office, you could get in there Monday. And so it depends on how far away you are. But the phone sessions work just as good as in-person sessions. We just have to be able to connect in consciousness to have a successful treatment, and the phone allows for that. But the problem is I can't respond to people like on emergency room type basis. I just don't have the surrogate power to do that.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Next question. How can I live the parable while also focused on my job? As a beginner, it seems I need to stop every hour and say the prayer on your card. It's easy when I'm alone or walking in nature.
Yeah. Well, we live in two worlds, and they do overlap a lot, but there's, what I would call a man's world where, we create things and make things, and the computer, the washing machine, the lawnmower, anything of man's world, you have to know what you're doing because it's human consciousness that orchestrates the creation of those things. And so being smart, taking pride in your work, being a hard worker, the attributes that you would think of as a good employee at a business, well, that really does pay dividends, and that's how you progress in man's world up the economic ladder and stuff. And then you have this natural world thing that you are actually a product of. We were all created through the Genesis process, the natural process, and see in that world the intelligence that makes it all happen comes included. It's like the intelligence that makes the world go round is not something, you can study it, you could get a PhD in photosynthesis if you want to, but it's really not your part. You're going to be better off with a green thumb. The person that knows how to be in harmony with the intelligence of life that makes things happen is going to have more success there. And that comes from, living the parable is a good way to be in the natural world. And that, and you see, how we handle the issues, problems, worries, and concerns in our life is a very important thing. And the human compulsion, because we're a product of man's world, we think like that, is when you have problems, worries, and concerns, is to try to figure it out and fix it yourself. You never realize when you make that choice that self is the least capable part of our being to successfully resolve any issue, because that part of us is the remnants of the fractured soul vessel from our downfall world experience, and it's only 10% conscious. It has no knowing, and it's defended by our ego body. And so when you try to do things yourself, you see the purpose of your ego in the human shadow world is to defend yourself, and its method of doing it is to seize control of your consciousness through the process of the programming of the authority of your outer world, and that occurs for everybody initially as a child. The big people in your life, especially the ones you hold in high esteem, are the ones that program your belief systems. And then your negative ego, in defending and justifying the belief system it imposes on yourself, is going to dole out to you fear, pain, and punishment. And fear will make anxiety and worry, and punishment creates suffering, and pain causes depression and anger. So that's a miserable path, and you're lucky to get a drop in your bucket when you put the least capable part of you in charge of your life's issues. That's when you break it down and look at it, it is absolutely the worst choice. A Christed being, on the other hand, it doesn't go there trying to figure it out itself. It simply surrenders the whole 9 yards to its higher power to be dealt with. And that's your inner divinity that beats your heart. I call that the Lord of your being, is your higher power. And if you will surrender your problems to your higher power and then yield to its will in your life, becoming mindful and sensitive to the whispering voice and gut knowing it gives you, and then obeying what it says, and then showing up in your day without apprehension and worry, and take your step in trusting this divine flow of life, a door to miracles opens, and the answers come forth, and goodness and opportunity flood into your life. And that's, you've learned the secret of life, is to illuminate your shadow world with your light, and that is your inner divinity. And that way works. And, when you try to do it with self, you're going to wind up trying to fix the problems of belief consciousness with more belief, and that will not work. You have to go to a bigger picture based on higher consciousness to heal the problems of your life. And living the parable allows you to do that. And it's about half as hard as learning to ride a bicycle. And if you learn to ride a bicycle, you can learn to live the parable of Christ consciousness, and it'll tremendously improve your life. So I hope that answers that question.
Okay. Let's see. Can you remind us what your YouTube channel is called?
Do you know what that is, Linda?
I was looking. In last week's recording, if you will go and listen to last week's recording, it's something like YouTube Holy Divine Healing Dr. Dan, as I recall, is the one that, I know if you'll just Google Holy Divine Healing, you'll find some of your original recordings, but I believe the one that's Holy Divine Healing Dr. Dan has these last 13 recordings that we've recorded here. This whole session, we'll have all 15 of those on. So it's embedded in last week's recording if you want the actual true number there. Okay. So, all right. Here's the question. For those who took the vaccine, what do you recommend for their new symptoms? What should they do?
Well, if I was going to take the vaccine, I would pump up my immune system prior to doing it, which would mean like taking 10,000 IUs of vitamin D as in dog free, and taking 2 or 3 grams of vitamin C, take zinc, and I know that curcumin works incredibly well as an antiviral agent, and so I take that stuff every day. But I would definitely pump myself up before I took that vaccine, and then you just have to hope that you're not one of the unlucky ones that has a bad response to it.
And what about afterwards? If you've already taken it, same protocol?
Yeah. Same thing. And I would, I recommend a plant-based diet anyways, but it would probably be really important for you to do that for a week or so before you get the shot, because when you eat animal products, you put a culture in your body that pathological variants can grow in much easier than if you're a plant-based eater. So you actually create a culture that is going to promote the growth of pathological bacteria and viruses when you eat animal products. And so I recommend you don't do that to start with. But if you are a meat eater and you get the vaccine, I wish you well. It's not my advice about that, and people have to make up their own mind about it. If you're in big-time fear about this virus, you might consider taking the shot. I'm just going to live safe, just like I always have. Eat good, take my supplements, do the yeast, and live my life. I wear the mask when I go grocery shopping, and I'm not into any kind of politics about any of this stuff. In fact, I try to stay out of politics, period, because it's in the second paradigm. And any subject of life that you put where 2 dimensions of reality calculate into your consciousness, it's always going to create duality, hypocrisy, and polarization of the collective. I don't care what subject you took there, but unfortunately, that's where we hold politics, is in the second paradigm. And so that's a nasty place, and any truth in the second paradigm is truly an illusion of your belief. It's not the truth, that's the thing about it. You can't, the truth is in the 33rd paradigm. That's a long ways from the second. So I say, stay out of the politics of it and make your best choice of what feels true and right for you. But I would take the precautions that I told you about.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next question. Can you share more about the unfoldment of the Purge in September?
Well, when this Purge started on the full moon eclipse of September of 2015, it told me that it was going to be a 6-year purge and would be ending in September of 2021. And I've looked at September, and the full moon is 2 days before the autumn solstice, the fall solstice. And the day in between is called International Peace Day. So that right there is a good little place to be looking there for this to be coming to a kibosh, you know, and for the Purge to start lightening up on people and hopefully take the virus with it. You know, these coronaviruses last 2 years. This is the third one. And if it follows the track of the other two, about September, it should start leaving the planet. And I'm keeping my fingers crossed by all that. But boy, people are purging really intensely right now. They call me up for problems that they're having right now, and when we get in there and look at it all, 90% of it is coming from lineage patterns and past lives, which means you are purging your shadow. And that's what most of people's problems in their life right now is their shadow world coming up from their past, you know. And it's like everybody shows up in this life with a loaded gun from their lineage patterns and past lives, and then your life traumas will pull the trigger. And see, 2020 and 2021 have been a pressure cooker to expose the problems that people carry as their shadow world. So that's really the origin of the chaos that's going on the planet right now in all levels. And the institutions of humanity are purging big time right now. And that's why government is kind of nuts. You know, we got some really crazy things going on in my state, in Arkansas, and just unbelievable. The things that they're passing in the legislature is a total purge of politics at its worst. So it's a happening, but if you live in the bigger picture of life, you see the purpose of all of this. This has to happen. We cannot take all of this darkness into the new holy order. That's right around the corner. It's going to be here before you know it. But the first step of ascension is to purge your shadow, and that's what's happening. And so it's going to be a tumultuous ride up through September. But hey, that's just a few months down the road, so it's not that far. Okay.
Okay. The next part of that question was leading up to this event. What are your thoughts about the staging of this energy?
Now say that one again.
What are your thoughts about the staging of this energy?
The staging of it. I'm not sure I follow what you're asking.
No, I don't really follow that either. Okay, we'll jump to the next one because that's not computing for us mere mortals here. All right, next question. Barbara Maisel says, we highly recommend participating with Dr. Dan, if possible, in that wonderful magical forest. Yes, she was up there, I think, within the last month or so. Okay. Search YouTube for Holy Divine Healing Dan, and it will come up. You can find the answer. And let's see. Okay, one more question just popped in. Will you say more about past life, the rapture, and the Holy Divine Order?
Yes, I will. Well, first of all, every person that I've ever worked on has a recording inscripted in the crystal lattice of their spirit body of a 700 million year existence on this earth in the ancient world where we were holy beings of the Holy O before we became human. And in that holy order we lived in a 9-cluster mechanism called All There Is of the Holy O. And it has over 62 million universes, and each universe is 10 times the size of the universe. And it was actually the universe that we're in right here that was chosen out of the 62 million plus to house a school of understanding that we call the human downfall world. And the plan of grand design, a consortium of holy beings of the holy temples of the neutron stars, came up with this plan where they brought a planet in from a system of one outside of the 9 clusters to start this school. And this school came in on this planet, and it had 87 life forms, and the captain of that ship is Yahweh, the God of the Old Testament. And to go to this school, you have to go through the creation process of the model of one, and that's talked about in Genesis of the Bible. And you're created in the image and likeness of this Yahweh person. Well, you had a creation before that ever happened in the holy order. But that's what took us into this school of understanding that we call the downfall world, and we call it that because to attend you have to check your knowing consciousness in at the door and consent to have your Trinity disassembled. And from there, you get to find your way back home, having one life lesson after the next. And if you learn your lesson, you acquire understanding. And that's the purpose of it. And understanding is a very valuable fuel of consciousness. It heals ignorance, and it's second only to the fuel of consciousness known as knowing consciousness, which only comes from your inner holiness. But we got disconnected from our inner holiness at the Big Bang, and that's when we started thinking that God was outside of us somewhere else because we were no longer connected to the holiness within that beat our own hearts. And this is what created our shadow. Our light went outside of us, and that creates a shadow. And so that's how we wound up in this predicament here in this shadow world that we've been in since the Big Bang of the dawn of time. And that's the world that's coming to an end as we return to our holy order evolved. We started out as a holy being of knowing consciousness, and now we're going to be the holy being of knowing consciousness that understands all of life. And that's a much better perspective. And I hope that I answered that question.
I would say you did. I would say.
Okay.
Hey. I've got a question here. When you do one of your healings, you utilize Ascension Key Codes, and I believe what are there, like 1 to 15 of those?
There's 25 of them. Yeah.
25. Okay. Well, could you explain to us what that's about?
Yeah. Yeah. When you do a clearing on a person, you create a void, and you need to fill all voids. You don't leave those empty, or something will get in there that's not of the light. And so the purpose of these Ascension Keys is to heal what you cleared off of a person, but to also fill the void perfectly and completely. And the Ascension Key will interface all of the blessings of the Holy O that are required to create Holy O pure perfection in the place of the issue that you cleared out. So that's their purpose. And every Ascension Key will have a feeling, a paradigm, a light ray, and a celestial body of some sort. It could be a Pleiades, Arcturus, or something of that nature, or it could be a whole cluster. There's 15 of these clusters, and it could be or there's 9 of these clusters, it could be any one of those. And so that's what you fill the voids with, and that's their purpose. Okay?
Now, are those something we can use for ourselves when we clear ourselves?
I have 3 or 4 people that are healers that do healings on other people, and they use them. And, I share those things with anybody that wants them. Everything that I know about it was given to me, and I give it away freely.
Is there a list somewhere? Because we could douse and ask which one was indicated, or would it be okay just to say, just fill this void with whatever Ascension Key Code is required?
Yeah, whatever one you pick up on 1 through 25, you could just say put Ascension Code 15 in the void of this clearing. You could do something of that nature.
All right. And is there a place where these are written down, or we just have to go listen back to all the other recordings where they're?
Yeah. Well, that's something we need to do. We need to get that out there somehow. And I have them all written down. Of course, when I do sessions on people, I have them right there with me. And I know how to use them and stuff. But if we had a way to put them out on the internet, then I'd have to explain them all. And because they're like in their abbreviated form, I've got the feelings come off of the feelings chart in the alphabet order that they're in. There's A through G. Each one has 10, and I know what they are, but you wouldn't if you haven't worked with that code or with the feelings chart. I've worked with it for years before I even got into this, so I've been working with it for about 40 years. So I know it very well. But that would be something to look at, to put out some on the computer or something, so people could look at it and learn about it.
All right. This is a formal request to those of you out there. If you are feeling administratively generous and would like to take this information and key it into a computer for the rest of our advancement, please text me, 713-622-8900. If this is your gift to humanity for the healing process, we would be so grateful.
Yeah, and I can get Vicki to send you a copy of it over the computer, Linda, and you would be able to see what it looked like. And I think Barbara's got a copy of the feelings chart, and you could figure out the feelings if you had the chart. Of course, they're all written in their alphabet number code as they appear on that feelings chart. But I could get Vicki to send you that.
That would be lovely.
Okay. All right, and maybe we could just do a recording, and I'll just read through them and tell you what they are. Would be an easy way to do it. But anybody that does healing on other people are welcome to them. Like I say, it was all given to me, and I give it freely.
All right. Next question. Did I understand the immune system may not be in a healthy state to sustain the vaccination?
Yeah, there's 2 types of immune systems. There's a innate immune system that you was born with that involves your thymus gland making T cells, your spleen making white blood cells, your adenoids and tonsils doing their thing. And that part of your immune system is what keeps you alive every second that you're on this earth. And then science came up with this other form of immunity called acquired immunity, where you have to go get a shot. And interestingly enough, if you caught measles, wild measles as a child, and it went through your skin from the outer world, as it does if you breathe it in or eat it, you get a lifetime immunity from that. You don't ever get measles again. But if you go get a measles shot where they bypass your skin and mucous membranes and inject it into your body, you're only going to get an acquired immunity. You're going to have a booster shot because you're not going to be able to sustain the antibody level long enough to give you a permanent immunity. And so acquired immunity always requires more shots. And the evidence that I look at is that acquired immunity decreases the effectiveness of your innate immunity. And that's the part I don't like about it. People that get all the shots recommended are people that suffer a lot more colds and stuff than people that do not do that. And every person I know that gets all of their shots has colds and flus and all of that stuff, where I don't get any of it. I'm over here eating yeast. And I don't have those problems. And so if you want to build a healthy innate immunity, eat a plant-based diet and take the supplements that we're talking about here today, and you will have a wonderful immune system. And then eat the yeast, take the curcumin. And you're going to bypass almost everything, if not everything. I don't have any problems with getting those kind of processes. I know it works from my own experience, and there's all kinds of evidence-based research. If you Google Diamond V as in Victor, you'll get a ton of information that will come up on research that was done primarily on animals. And then once they found out that Diamond V was also good for people, they changed the name of it to Epicor. And it went from, when I was first buying Diamond V, it was $40 for a 50-pound bag. And they were selling Epicor, a 10-ounce can, for $70. Well, it was strictly marketing. It wasn't anything. They're both made the same way. And so for years, I just bought a 50-pound bag every once in a while. I could get it at the feed store. It's a veterinarian supply product, and so there's it was the original maker of the stuff has they get bought out by bigger companies. I think Cargill owns it now, but it's a wonderful way to create natural herd immunity in animals and in people, and so that's what I rely on. Okay. All right.
Okay. So is it possible to shift from an unhealthy state of immunity so that you could take the vaccination in the future?
Well, I'm not a virologist or epidemiologist, and I don't know what they would think about that, but I do know that you can build your health up. And, most people that are unhealthy eat a bad diet, and they not only eat animal stuff, they eat, fried processed grains, donuts, sugar is really bad for your immune system, as are processed grains and fried things. Not that you can't ever eat something fried again, but you have to do that diligently. If you're eating, fried catfish once a month, that's not going to be a factor in your health. But you can't do things that aren't really good for you every day, all the time, and get away with it. It's going to break you down. And so you have to have a high quality of daily living in order to have a strong functioning immune system. Okay?
All right. Have you witnessed any miraculous healings in your experiences?
In regard to what? Just anything, or?
That's the question I have here.
Definitely. I witness miraculous changes every day in people.
Excellent. Here's our last question for today. There's a term called the spiritual ego. Could you give us some information about that?
Well, your ego has been with you forever. And in the holy order of life, when we were holy beings of the Holy O, the ego body's job was to monitor your soul vessel. Your soul vessel back then had 13 components of divinity inside the soul vessel that were the gifts from the 13 galaxies of this cosmos for your creation. And these 13 components of your divinity functioned as a congruent group. There was no hierarchy. They were all the same. And altogether, they created a knowing consciousness of the soul that the ego body picked up off of the soul vessel, and it integrated it into the divine masculine, which is the gender of the soul, and infinite expressions of appreciation, approval, and acceptance. And so that's what I think you mean by the spiritual ego. That's the positive ego. And so it goes from monitoring your soul vessel, giving your divine masculine appreciation, approval, and acceptance, to defending the fractured soul vessel, which is what self is. Self is the human condition. And it defends it by doling out fear, pain, and punishment. So it did like a 180. But most of the components of our soul, spirit, and presence did a 180 when we went from being a holy being to becoming a human being. And the ego was just one of them. So, you can't be alive and not have an ego, but your ego can become holy again and return to its divine expression. And that's the way it will be in the new holy earth that's coming around the corner.
Okay. So the current ego we're utilizing here is just a disintegration of the spiritual ego, sort of the lower form of that.
Yeah. We have the negative ego of the masculine patriarchal.
Okay.
What we got right now, but that's not its holy expression.
Excellent. All right. Well, all good things must come to an end, and we have run out of time today. So in closing, let me just remind you that it'll be reference number 300 if you wish to listen to today's call again. And we're taking a break. The next scheduled Thursday morning 10 a.m. call will be on May the 13th. That is the Thursday before Dr. Dan's next blessing, which will be on Sunday, May the 16th. So if you dial in.
After this weekend. The very next one's this weekend.
This weekend, okay.
Yeah, this week.
Okay.
Yeah, this Sunday, the 25th, we have a group healing, and then the next one will be the 16th of May.
Right. Okay. So to get your ticket to this Sunday's Holy Divine Healing, go to holydivinehealingstore.com, holydivinehealingstore.com, to have a one-on-one half-an-hour appointment with Dr. Dan. You can call him on his flip phone at 501-416-1996. That's 501-416-1996. And be sure to listen to his voice message because he'll tell you when his slots are. Hey, I want to thank everyone for being on the call today. Dr. Dan, any final comments before we turn off this recording?
Well, I just hope you can show up this Sunday. We're going to have Divine Interactions, which is the next fiber in the matrix of the new holy order that we're putting together, and this one will be a very powerful, uplifting experience.
Okay. Very good. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, all right. Thank you all for being on the call, and until May the 13th on this call, have a fabulous day. Have a fabulous life.